Okay, hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to JFD Traders Tea Time with me, Darius and Anucauskas. Today is the 16th of January 2020. So welcome everyone, welcome to this Thursday's afternoon session where we're going to have a quick look at the markets, a few of the charts, the usual stuff. But before we do that, as always, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest and we can continue. Okay, so also guys, do apologize for the morning video because there was a lack of sound. Was going through different various instruments, but unfortunately there was no sound, so I do apologize for that. So hopefully now you can hear me okay. But as always, before we jump into the charts, quick mentioning of our YouTube channel here, to which you can always subscribe to in order not to miss any of our upcoming videos, and of course our JFD Bank website, and specifically our JFD research page, which we update on a daily basis. So I believe you can find some useful information here. So yeah, guys, feel free to visit us on jfdbank.com and click on the research tab right here. Now then, let's jump into the charts. Now the first one I want to touch on here is the Dow Jones. Now I talked about the Dow on Monday, and basically in my Traders Tea Time as well, and basically I was telling you guys to keep a close eye on some of these upside lines. So the medium term upside line taken from the low of the 3rd of October, and the shorter one, shorter term one taken from the low of the 3rd of December. Now I can see that the index managed to drift higher yesterday. It closed slightly in the positive territory. All U.S. indices, by the way, the major top three closed in the positive territory. Even Nasdaq managed to kind of capture a few points in the green. So, but looking at the cash index right now, we can see that the price is already not only above the yesterday's close, but also above the all-time high, which is which was achieved yesterday near the 29,127 zone, roughly around there. The cash index managed already today to reach an area near the 29,182. So something to keep an eye on. Of course, if everything stays for the next 13 minutes the same, then we'll have ourselves a nice opening gap here to the upside, and it will close. It will open in the new with a new all-time high. So basically, keep your eyes on this one, guys. It will be quite interesting to see how it performs further on. If it can, how further it can continue pushing to push higher. If it can, of course. If it's enough, maybe we could see a bit of a correction here, but then again, we cannot really talk about any downside yet, because for us, looking at this picture here, for us to consider the downside, well, ideally a drop below this upside support line, this short-term upside support line would be needed. But even then, the bulls still have a chance to jump in here on this on this medium-term upside support line, so which I've mentioned, taken from the low of the 3rd of October. So yeah, guys, basically for now, everything's kind of still leaning more towards the upside. The only problem is here, of course, we are quite overstretched to the upside on the shorter time frame. So in a way, maybe a bit of excuse me, maybe a bit of correction to the downside could be possible here. But for now, the main thing to watch is, of course, today's open. We will have a nice opening gap to the upside, and we'll have a nice opening new opening high, or in other words, new all-time high actually, today. So keep your eyes on this one. Let's see if it actually can create a new all-time high, but or let's see how far can this continue traveling higher. But again, as I said, also keep your eyes on these two upside lines, which if we see a break of the first one here, of the shorter one, then we'll start considering a bit of a deeper correction here towards this medium-term upside line. But if that fails to withhold, now this is where it could become a little bit more exciting for these sellers. So for now, keep your eyes on this, guys. WTI Oil. Now I talked about this one this morning. Again, I apologize for the lack of sound in my morning video. But what I was saying, guys, basically we have ourselves a nice upside support line taken from the low of the 3rd of October, and we can see that the commodity continues to balance around this upside line. Now for us to get comfortable with, let's say, some declines here, some lower levels, what we needed, and this is what I was saying this morning, we need to see a nice good drop below the 57.72 zone, but ideally we'd like to see a nice, at least a 4-hour candle close below this, and then we could consider a deeper move to the downside here. But for now, you can see that yesterday we had a false breakout here. Today we had a false breakout below this 57.72 zone, and it continues to kind of hold the price from moving lower. So, and of course this upside line as well. These two kind of are playing out nicely here with the upside. To be honest, although we are still hanging above this upside line, for us to get excited with higher levels, ideally we'll start looking at the upside if we get a push above the 200 EMA here on the 4-hour chart. But then just for that extra confirmation, a push above the psychological 60 mark could do the trick for more buyers, and we could see this one traveling back to the upside. But as I said, it's very close to the downside as well. It's very close to this 57.72 zone, and if eventually we do get ourselves a nice 4-hour candle close below this, then well, we might consider some deeper extensions to the downside. So keep your eyes on this one. Bitcoin. Now, I looked at Bitcoin recently, and of course this week, and also we've mentioned it on 14th of January. Basically, we made a call here on Bitcoin until it was still kind of just slightly fractionally above this 8,470 territory. Now you can see that we had a nice breakthrough to the upside here. We traveled higher, and for now everything's working according to plan. Our main target here for now is around the 9,600 level. So in a way, as long as it continues to trade above the 8,470 zone, we will continue targeting the upside. And but if, let's say, suddenly it starts dropping back below this level, below the 8,470, below the downside resistance line, now this is where the bulls should kind of be a little bit worried, because if suddenly the price falls below the 7,689 zone, roughly around here, now this is where probably the bulls could be abandoning the field, and we could see the sellers jumping in here further, or should I say more sellers jumping in and driving this one to the lows of December. Now, or should I say the lowest point of December. Now, again, for now, the downside is slightly off the table, unless it's a small correction. You can see that on the shorter time frame, we probably are having ourselves a nice pennant formation, which tends to be a bullish one if the prevailing trend was to the upside. So this is exactly the scenario that we've got ourselves here, and in a way, for now, let's see how this is going to play out. For now, like I said, we are still bullish on this, especially if it pushes above the highs of yesterday, or the highs of Tuesday, which is near the 8,893 zone, 93-94 mark. So keep your eyes on this one. This is for those who are more on the cautious side, because a nice good break above the 8,894 would confirm a forthcoming higher high, and we could aim for these for this 9,600 level that I've mentioned previously. So for now, guys, let's see how this is going to play out. But again, like I said, we're more bullish than bearish on this one, and but for those who are more on the cautious side, wait for a push above the 8,894, and then we could aim for higher levels. AUDUSD. Now, fantastic move. This is what I talked about this morning as well. Basically, I was telling you guys to keep a close eye on this little range here that we had, and this range was roughly between the 0.6880 and the 0.6920. So we did get a break through the upper side of it. Now, the big question here is, can it continue traveling higher? You can see that it almost managed to reach its R2 today. So the area that the pair managed to test was roughly around the 0.6935 mark, from which it kind of like from where the the bears stepped in and tried and are still trying to push the pair lower, or in other words back maybe below this this upper bound of the range. Now again, if this suddenly drops back inside this range, now on a daily chart we'll have a nice false breakout here. So something to monitor here, so something to consider. If we do see something like that, then well, it increases the chances of a potential slide back down here. The only thing is for us to consider, let's say, a deeper move lower, ideally a drop below the 0.6880 zone, which is the lower side of this little range. This is what we would be looking for in order to aim for this upside support line taken from the low of the 2nd of October. Now again, like I said, for now, guys, keep your eyes on this one. It's quite interesting, and let's see how if the pair can stay above the 0.6920. If it can, then yes, we will continue targeting the upside. But if it struggles to do that, then well, like I said, there could be a possibility to see maybe some correction here inside the little range here, but for us to get a little bit more bearish in the short run until this upside line is if we see a drop below the 0.6880 zone. USDCAD. Now I talked about this one this morning, and then basically I was telling you guys that we are still somewhat neutral on this one, because yes, we did have a flirt, or should I say the pair was flirting with this downside resistance line taken from the high of the 6th of December. We did have a few overshoots here on Tuesday and on yesterday, and it drifted lower here after that, but it remained above this 1.3025. So basically what we need here is a drop, or at least a 4-hour candle close below this 1.3025 in order to consider a deeper move lower towards the lowest point of December near the 1.2948. Again, until then we're not doing anything, we're just observing the price action. Even with the upside, we need to get a push above the 1.3105 in order to get a little bit more comfortable with higher levels. Until then, like I said, for now we are somewhat neutral here and just continuing to observe the price action. GBPJPY, also something that I mentioned this morning, and I was telling you guys to keep an eye on this upper side of the little range that the pair is kind of continued to trade in. And today, this morning, we saw a nice push higher. It managed to break the upper bound here. Now the big question here is, can it stay here? And if for now we are still somewhat bullish on this one. Of course, the Japanese yen is the weakest one today, even though the pound is not the strongest. And actually, let me just quickly double check that it's more of a third, the third from the top, basically from about the strengths. It's the main gainers today are the Australian dollar and the New Zealand dollar. New Zealand dollar being the most gainer. The strongest one. But long story short, basically on GBPJPY, if we see a nice daily close above this 143.46 zone, then we will consider the next target being the 144.36, which is the high of the 31st of December. We'll aim for that. We'll be very careful around here, even though I do have my arrow all the way here up until the 145.43. That's our ideal scenario. Our main scenario for now will be the 144.36. After that, we're going to have a look at this. Again, we'll see how it's performing, and if it wants to travel further north, then yes, we will aim for further upside. If suddenly this drops back inside this little range, again, similar story like with the Australian dollar, we may have ourselves a nice false breakout on the daily chart, and then we could consider a possible correction here inside this little range. So we could aim for the 200 EMA initially on the 4-hour chart here, and then for the 142.35 zone. But if that fails to withhold, this could open the break, could open the path towards this upside support line. Now, don't get me wrong, it is a bit of a tentative one, this upside support line taken from the low of the 3rd of September, but nevertheless, we'll keep an eye on it just in case if it holds. Like I said, we'll consider a possible move towards this upside line if we get a drop below the 142.35. As I said, if we get a drop below the 143.46-45 zone here, then we'll consider a bit of a slide here inside the little range here that we've got ourselves into, or should I say we got ourselves out of from today. But again, still something to keep an eye on until the day has finished. So let's see how this is going to play out. And the last pair for this session is going to be the euro dollar. Now, I talked about this pair this morning as well, and basically the positive thing here is the fact that it yesterday traveled higher and it broke this downside line. It pushed above the 1.1147, and today it continues to balance above this support area, which previously acted as a good area of resistance. So of course, everything's kind of looking quite nice here for the bulls. The only thing is that you can see that the bulls did try to have an attempt to push it above the 1.1164-63 zone. They did that, but the bears quickly stepped in and pushed it back inside here. So for now, we're going to remain neutral because we need to see a nice good, at least a close of a 4-hour candle above this 1.1163 zone, and after that, we could consider a potential move further north. Our main target for now is going to be the 1.1205. Of course, don't get me wrong, the 1.1239 looks attractive as well, but the only thing is for now, let's go step by step, short and simple steps. If we get a nice good push above this barrier here, the 1.1163, then yes, again, and if we see a nice good 4-hour candle close above this, then yes, we will consider further move higher. But again, we'll have a very tight stop loss just in case this suddenly reverses back to the downside. In case this drops below the 1.1147 zone, the bulls still could have a chance to step in here near this short-term tentative upside support line taken from the low of the 10th of January, because we also have the 200 EMA around here somewhere, and it could be a nice plateau for the buyers to go in. But again, we'll be very careful in case this suddenly starts dropping lower below this downside line. And if we do see a drop below this downside line, now this is where we will consider a deeper correction, and exactly because it's a correction still, because overall we are still trading above this upside support line taken from the low of the 1st of October. So in a way, still the bulls could step in around here somewhere near the 1.1066 mark and then drive this one back to the upside. Again, like I said, for now, guys, from the very short-term perspective, we are still more bullish than bearish, especially if we do get a nice 4-hour candle close above the 1.1163. If we don't, the bulls might still consider to step in somewhere around here, maybe near the 200 EMA or near this short-term tentative upside line. But if that starts failing, then we could see a deeper correction towards this other medium-term upside support line taken from the low of the 1st of October. So, okay, guys, so I hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for sticking around and watching it till the end. I hope the sound was okay today and in this video, because like I said, I do apologize for the morning video. For some reason, there was no sound on just the image. So, but I hope that was helpful for you as well. Anyway, thank you very much, guys, for sticking around and watching it till the end. Join me tomorrow morning in my Trader's Espresso at 7 o'clock GMT time. For now, I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you later. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.